For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Shotgun Spratling for instant analysis of USC's 31-16 loss to Notre Dame in South Bend. Now, Shotgun, I think this game was closer than some people expected coming into this game. USC showed some fight, something we haven't fully seen from this team at times during the season, but ultimately the mistakes we've seen all season long ended up preventing the Trojans from coming out victorious tonight.
Yeah, we saw penalties, we saw mistakes in all three facets. We saw, the special teams missing a field goal, missing an extra point. We saw the defense with penalties on crucial drives, the offensive line struggling at times. So yeah, it was a lot of the same things that we've seen. And the thing that USC really needs is someone to step up and be a playmaker. We've seen Drake London do it. Keontae Ingram had a big game tonight as well. But they need some other guys to really step up, and that just hasn't been the case. Chris Steele had a nice interception. But that was about it on the defense. Drake Jackson had one sack. The rest of the defense kind of quiet, and they were much more known for their mistakes that they made today with some crucial penalties, particularly on a big drive late in the game, which was very much like 2019 in this game where USC really struggles in the first half offensively. They fall down 17-3, same score from last time USC was here at Notre Dame Stadium. They come roaring back in the second half. The offense starts, churning out some yards, but They pull within a score in the fourth quarter in 2019. Notre Dame was able to go on like a 6 or 7 minute drive to kind of salt the game away and punch it in for a touchdown. This game didn't take them as long, only a 4-minute drive, but same result. USC pulls within a touchdown, and then Notre Dame goes down and scores, and then USC's chasing from behind and aren't able to use the run game, which was kind of the big difference for them in the second half.
Mm-hmm. After the game, Dante Williams said that they got it going in the second half. He wished that there was more time. He said he didn't feel like they lost this game, but he also said they made way too many mistakes to win this game. But he said, it's not just one person making mistakes. You can't just take someone out and bench them. It's a collective issue. How do you fix that going forward?
It comes down to all the things he's been trying to do, the accountability and getting everyone on the same page. But it's a cultural thing right now for USC. They make a lot of mistakes, and that's why teams, when they're playing USC's offense, they back up and give them short passes and say, I don't think they can go on a 12-15 play drive and punch it in. And we've seen that. USC actually had more yards than Notre Dame in this game, but again, red zone issues, which is something that has bitten them many times this season. Brett Nealon said it's almost like they're allergic to the end zone when they get to the red zone. So it's consistent issues that they've had, and it's something that's been bothering USC all season. So it's a very hard fix, and it's one that you feel like Dante's trying to do all the right things, but nothing is really sticking for USC outside of that Washington State game and in his first game as interim head coach. So USC goes back to the drawing board. I think the positive is that we did see them fight. They could have turned at halftime and just said, all right, this isn't happening, and this turns into one of those blowouts that they've had at home. But they fought back. And even on that first drive that they have on the offense, they miss a field goal. And that could have been the point and just be like, all right, pack it in, this game's over. But you saw them continue to battle. And Dante Williams said, it felt like they ran out of time. Like if they had another quarter, then maybe it would have been different. But that's football. You get 4 quarters, then they'll give you an extra one unless you're Illinois and Penn State and you go to 9 or 10 overtimes.
Too many overtimes. Now, when it comes to USC's run game, Keontae Ingram had success today. He was definitely patient. I know you noticed that they didn't run too much in the first quarter. Do you think USC, I know it's a modified air raid, but do you think they should lean on the run more early on in the game?
I mean, their offense this season has been its most successful when the run game's going. So in the first quarter, and Brett Nealon told me that, they thought that they were going to come out and pound the ball a little bit. Maybe it was the looks they were getting that Graham Harrell decided to call. But in the first quarter, they ran 10 plays on offense, and only 2 of them were runs. And, once they started running, that's when the offense started gaining more yards. And instead, they went 3 and out on that first drive. And just, it kind of felt like they were playing from behind throughout the night because of that. Whereas I think when you can get the run game going, which is, you make your offense more balanced. And when that run game is going, that alleviates some of the pressure for, Drake London or for Keaton Slovis, because now you're not getting those drop 8 coverages all the time. You're forcing teams to come down in the box. And that's one of the things that, I've noted it multiple times. They went away from the run way too early in some of those blowouts. Tonight they didn't. That was something that I think, at 17-3, they could say we got to continue to pass, and instead they ran the ball all the way up until there's about 4 minutes left in the game, and then they're trying to push it down because they're down 2 scores, and they just couldn't put anything together there. But when the run game is going, this offense is at its best so far this season.
Mm-hmm. Now, it seemed like there was a little bit of miscommunication at the end of the second half. I know first half, Dante Williams wanted Keely Slovis to spike the ball, but he elected to use a pass play. How did that impact the game overall?
I mean, if you can get points at the end of the half, it's huge to give you some momentum going forward, whether it's just a field goal and it's 17-6. Hey, now you feel like you're within, a touchdown and a field goal with a 2-point conversion there. If you get the ball to Drake London and you score a touchdown, and if you have a little bit more time, and I think this was the first time that we really kind of saw the inexperience of Dante Williams. I'm not saying it was all on him, but USC, they used 3 timeouts on defense in this game. During that drive, they tried to run the ball with about 30 seconds left, and they said that that they were getting drop 8 coverage, so they're trying to pop one of the runs in there early. But you didn't have any timeouts then. They'd used their timeouts already, so it wasn't the right play call in my mind. And I think we saw the inexperience there of not having an extra timeout available because they had to waste some on defense. So I think that this is the first time we really saw that inexperience from Dante Williams and not being able to manage the clock and do some other things there. But also, if his quarterback is doing what he wants him to, then maybe that's different as well. I think that's partly on Keely Slovis and also on Dante Williams as a combined effort there, because Keely Slovis got to know on that final play that they did run is if you're going to scramble, you got to immediately go straight to the sideline or just throw the ball away and live to fight that extra down rather than picking up the 5 or 6 yards that they got on the ground because of how much time it's going to waste. And Dante Williams mentioned a lot of those receivers are running deeper routes down the field, so now you're going to try to get them back and try to spike the ball before there's only like 3 or 4 seconds left. So it didn't work out well for USC. It looked like a very inexperienced team in that type of situation, and we haven't necessarily seen USC in that same situation this season. But tonight they had the opportunity to try to get some points before the half, and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm. I spoke with defensive coordinator Todd Orlando after the game, and he essentially said he hopes that a painful loss like this will spur the team to better play going forward. I know that Craig Nyvar, Todd Orlando, they preach physicality. They try and work on fundamentals basically every practice. But why are we seeing so many missed tackles from this team?
It's a consistent theme, and they had opportunities to get off the field. Notre Dame was 8 of 12 on third downs, and they were 1 of 1 on a fourth down. So 9 out of 12 times they were able to pick up the first down. So if you can't get a team off the field, there's no chance of you winning a game, and that was the case for USC. They did get 1 turnover, but unless you're getting 4 or 5 turnovers, you're not going to be able to win with that type of a third down conversion rate. And USC, probably the most disappointing thing for the defensive coaches is that they're there. The players are there, and they're just not making the plays. And as a staff, I don't know exactly what you do tell the players. You continue to work on the fundamentals. You continue to preach the things they've been preaching. But it's got to be absolutely disheartening as a coach to put a guy in the right place and just see them not being able to make the play.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting when we heard an update about Jackson Dart from Dante Williams. He said he was partially cleared. He was cleared this week, but is not 100% as far as running goes. But then we talked to Jackson Dart after the game, and he said he was cleared after practice on Wednesday, but will have his first real full week of practice this upcoming week. What do you make of that situation, considering we saw Dart take a lot of second-team reps in coming into this game?
Yeah, and we saw him during the actual pregame warm-ups working with the second team. And I'm sure they have a Dart package. I know that's something they wanted to implement during that Washington State game before Keely Slovis went down with the injury. So, but that Dart package relies on him being able to create something different than Keely Slovis, which is his ability to, run read options, get outside the pocket, roll out. And Dante Williams said, he was told before the game that he's 80 to 85%, somewhere in there. So if that's the case, I feel like the USC staff did not feel comfortable throwing him in unless it was an emergency, unless they were going to, Keely Slovis got injured and they were going to throw him in there. But because of the things that they would want to do with him, if he wasn't 100%, they said, let's look at the kid's long-term future rather than just a rivalry game against Notre Dame. I know a lot of USC fans are looking for Jackson Dart and what he can provide for USC, but it wasn't there tonight. But Jackson Dart seems very excited about being able to get back and be be able to be a part of the game plan going forward.
Yeah, and to your point, Chuck, and Dante did say after the game that he's looking out for Dart's long-term future, not just one game. So we'll see about that. He did get to talk to Drew Brees, though. We did see that.
We did see Drew Brees and him discussing it afterwards. We weren't exactly like, who is this sharp-dressed man over here until we saw Drew Brees turn. But that type of advice is something that is priceless. So it'll be interesting to see when we talk to Dart next. See what he actually Brees had to say to him there. But anytime you can pick up advice from terrific players like that, future Hall of Famers, you pick their brain as much as possible.
Like I said, Chaka, this was a closer loss than I think people expected. It's kind of demoralizing in that sense, and this team was kind of playing for rivalry games at this point. How do you motivate the team going forward?
One, you want to get back in the win column.
Yeah.
And Arizona is going to be the next team. That's a team that is on a huge losing streak. You don't want to be the ignominious one that gives up that first win to them. So I think USC is going to be playing that. But get back in the win column and do things right. You know, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. So you're putting stuff on tape to go forward for the next coaching staff, for the NFL, or, you know, depending on what your status is at USC. You want to put that great tape out there. You want to show that you're improving. You want to have that day-by-day improvement if you're a young player. So I think that's what USC has to focus on right now, trying to improve day by day going forward. And, you know, again, it's about cleaning up those mistakes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's the same thing over and over. It's the same, you know, it's kind of redux of everything we've said in other instant analysis, unfortunately. But if you can start clean up one thing, and then work on the second thing, and then work on that. And, you know, I think the team can still improve as they go down the stretch. Obviously, you know, what they're playing for right now is to get in a bowl game. You know, get 3 more wins and get bowl eligible. You know, they got 5 games to do that. So it's not going to be an easy task, but that's something to play for them. And that extra, you know, couple weeks of practice would be really good for the number of young players that are on this squad. And we saw a number of those guys on defense today. We saw the first time seeing Ismail Sopsher out there. We only saw some of those guys early in the game. USC, you know, relied, kind of batting down the hatches and, you know, relied on their starters towards the end of the game. But we saw a ton of rotation early in the game, a ton of young guys. Kalen Bullock and Jalen Smith, the 2 safeties, both started in this game because USC started in a dime package. So, you know, those guys, all right, go look at that tape. What did you do well? What can you improve on? Every day, every game, try to get better, because that's what USC is going to need going forward. They've got to make gradual improvements, especially with those young guys.
Alrighty, Shotgun, any final thoughts before we wrap it up here in South Bend? I thought it was a great atmosphere. Always love covering this rivalry in South Bend.
Yeah, we got the mist coming from our breath here. It's nice and cool out here, crisp night. But yeah, great atmosphere. It was fun to be here again. I'm still wishing and hoping for that true end of game rivalry. Now, both of these last 2 games, Notre Dame, USC's had that opportunity to make it a real game, and you even tweeted, "Is this a ball? Do we got a ball game here?" But unfortunately, the USC defense couldn't get off the field to get that, couldn't make that one big stop that they needed. You know, some of the playmakers, Drake London, again, outstanding.
Yeah.
Keontae Ingram, huge game there, very patient, like you said, running the ball. And, you know, can they move forward with that? Can they take something away from that? The offensive line did not play well in the first half, but played much better in the second half. And I think, again, that goes back to having a balanced offensive attack so that they can, you know, can go downhill with the rushing attack and then be able to keep teams a little bit off balance. Some things that we'll be looking to see if they happen going forward, but a disappointing loss for USC to feel like they had an opportunity late.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most disappointing thing. Some of those blowouts they've had at home, you know, they gave up kind of in the fourth quarter and there was nothing to play for there. This game, there was an opportunity with about 8 minutes to go if they could get that one big stop and couldn't come up with it.
Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up in South Bend. For Shotgun Spratling, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out USCfootball.com.